Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants. Good to see you today. Welcome to our call. Would like to welcome all the people participating live and also those of you listening to the playback. We get about 95% of our listens on the playback, so that's always fun. And today we're going to talk about something that I know is worthwhile to work on because in the 14 years I've been helping baby boomers figure this stuff out, particularly when they transition from a current career to a new freelance career. Uh, a lot of the structure in our employment lives disappears, and it seems uh, non-trivial. But when I especially when I made the move to Mexico in 2007, everything about my schedule changed. And so I had to sort of rebuild that in order to become productive, because obviously one of the things about freelancing in general is, and especially as a baby boomer thinks about it, is that you want to spend as little time doing it and produce as much money as you possibly can, because after all, it is about the whole freedom equation and balancing your life so you don't have to fool around with schedules and meetings you don't want to attend and all that kind of stuff. So you finally are in control of making your schedule work out the way you want it to. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you piece those things together? What are some of the tips as you embark on a freelance career that you can take advantage of as you're getting going? So the first thing that I did when I pieced together my whole daily routine, as I said, was when I moved to Mexico, and things were different. When I first got down there, I mean, there were things like I never realized that the reason they take a siesta in the middle of the afternoon is that it's blazing hot and nobody wants to be out running around. It's not like being in Dallas, Texas, and going out and running around and it's 75 degrees or 80 degrees or whatever it is. It might be 90 degrees. So that's something you have to factor into it. And I noticed how much that really affects your energy. So I had to go through a process where I had to figure out uh, what um, what time of the day was going to be best for me to do sort of thinking work. And for me, that's doing courseware development. It's doing writing articles. It's doing uh, whatever it might be that requires kind of thinking. You have to, you know, kind of get all the documents up in your screen. You have to think about things. You have to have time to ponder, but then time to write. And a lot of times when I'm doing the creative stuff, I might be looking at it for a while, and then it takes a while for me to actually uh, the big idea to come, or the breakthrough. I might be writing an article but don't know how to bring it to a close or that kind of thing, and it takes that sort of little bit of extra thinking. And so what I found out worked for me is usually I was best in the morning, and the earlier I could get going, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then work for 2 or 3 hours of this kind of thinking work, and then go out to lunch with friends or something like that. That really was great for me. That was a good sequence of activity. And then during the afternoon, I would move things that I normally would do in the morning, like meditation. I move that to the afternoon because I don't want to be out in the hottest part of the day. And then usually in the afternoon, between say 3 and 5, still a little warm outside, and I would do phone calls and return emails and that kind of thing. Those are relatively short things that you could sit down and knock out a few of those, and that's a great uh, great way to end the day. And then I also sometimes have creative spurts in the evening. So uh, that would be uh, a kind of uh, an option if I had a little extra something to work on or that kind of thing. So I was very much working out my new schedule, and it was great. And I found a productive norm that worked for me. And the idea of measuring that productivity and being aware of it, and as I was doing it, I thought about when I was working for somebody. I never had time to do that. I mean, I just worked on whatever the schedule of the company was. Usually that was, getting in the office by a certain time and leaving late in the evenings many times. And because I traveled so much in my work, I was on my own schedule one way or the other. So I was on the schedule that clients were on. And I can't see who's quite asking that, but I'm somebody saying, "Are you back in Mexico yet?" And no, no, but I'm making plans to get back there and wrap things up in the States and get out of the temporary housing I was in and all that kind of stuff. So, going to be doing that. So, one of the tools that we've talked about a lot is the Pomodoro tool. And that's one that can really accentuate your focus. And that's one I really discovered uh, as I moved to Mexico and started doing the Pomodoro technique. So, that is a tool that you can use that really uh, does that. And so that, I guess, Greg, good to see you. All right, welcome. Uh, the next thing that I've noticed in working, is starting Barefoot Consultants and having conversations with people is I notice how important it is to move around. And this is another way the Pomodoro technique is really helpful. I mean, I would encourage you to Google the Pomodoro technique, but as we age, uh, it is more important that we get up and move around, and certainly during what we've been through for the last few years, uh, that it's been uh, very much more noticeable because we haven't been getting out as much, haven't been getting as much exercise and that kind of thing. And I can hear, or through my headset, if I'm talking to somebody in a audio call, or especially if I'm doing a Zoom call, I can see their energy lags. If and I'll say, well, how long have you been sitting there today? And they say, oh, 2 hours. And I'll say, well, just take a few minutes, get up, walk around, go get a drink of water, that kind of thing. And that really helps shift your energy and increase your focus. I might be explaining a topic and then I explain it two or three times. And if the person isn't latching on to it, I'll suggest that. And even for myself, I realize that if I'm somebody showing me something on a Zoom call and they're sharing the screen and they're trying to explain to me how something fits together, and then this happens and that happens, and I'm just not getting it, I will get up and move around. I have one of those little rebounders that are very effective. If you, let's see, to um, to Google here. Let's see. So Pomodoro, Pomodoro technique. Google that. You'll find lots of good information on how to manage your time and focus and that sort of thing. And of all the things I've tried, Pomodoro is the number one thing in my mind that really works well. And then the whole idea of getting up and moving around. And I actually have a rebounder. You'll see. Look, you look that up. It's one of these little trampolines, And it's interesting. There's been a lot of studies going through NASA about using this rebound technology. It's pretty straightforward, but you're basically bouncing on like a little trampoline. And even if you just do it for a few minutes, something that I learned, you can teach an old dog new tricks. We know about your circulatory system, but we also have a lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system doesn't have, in the circulatory system we have the heart, and that pumps things around, pumps the blood around. Well, the lymphatic fluid is not something that's pumped around by an organ like the heart. It's something that is it's activated by movement, and a lot of us have not been moving around as much as we used to over the last few years, and these rebounders happen to be particularly efficient to doing that. And so and good to see you, Bob, coming in here from Roatan, and welcome. And so this whole idea of just spending a couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, gently bouncing up and down on this, apparently, according to these studies, really pumps this lymphatic fluid, which is very important to our immune system and our overall well-being, through there. And so that's would be a good thing to investigate. It does increase your focus. It increases your cardiovascular system. Your heart rate goes up a little bit, and that kind of thing. And you gotta pay attention. You gotta be careful because you are on a trampoline. And always exhibit a lot of caution when doing that. And Marianne says that yoga is a great break for 25 minutes. Really works. I many years ago took a program called the Silva Mind Control Method, I think it was, in probably 40 years ago. And I have continued doing that. I mean, one of the fundamental building blocks that they teach you is a particular 20-minute meditation. And I do that usually around lunchtime, and that works very well. That's a great way to reset your mind. I mean, I can be, working on some aspect of a course and trying to figure out how to explain something, and, coming up with nothing. And I go and unplug for 20 minutes and come back, and the whole world is fresh and the ideas just flow. So something very important to do. And yoga's fabulous. It's a great tool for that. So yes. And Greg says, good thing I'm not in Canada. And I would agree, even though I got up this morning still in Dallas, and the forecast was, this is supposed to be kind of edging towards spring, and it's yesterday, I think it was 65, and this morning it said snow showers, so there you go. It really helps me to appreciate the nice warm weather that I have all the time in Mexico when I'm there. So very very much looking forward to that. So 2 things: move around and drink water. And it's as somebody who likes a soda every now and then, I got to admit that water is the thing that really energizes me the most and feels the best when I drink a sugar-free soda. If it's got sugar in it, you're going to get a crash from the sugar typically. And if it's got even if it's sugar-free, a lot of those drinks have caffeine in them. You can certainly get them caffeine-free, but sometimes those aren't always available. So boom, there you go. And it's at least for me, it's always to not have too much of that, too much caffeine in my system. And then the other interesting thing, and there's been a lot of research on this, going back to the 80s. There was a book called Super Learning. I forget who came up with that. Let's see, Super Learning book. But if you Google that, you'll see the book. And they found that the brain produced certain types of creativity waves, certain types of relaxation waves when people listened, among other things, to Baroque music, also to things like the sounds of a waterfall or just running water or the sounds of rain in a thunderstorm. And back in the 80s, they didn't have all the great instrumentation that they now have. And they can actually measure with much more precision what's going on in the brain when people are listening to this kind of thing. And there's one tool that I like in particular, and I'll put a word in the chat room, because this kind of blends tech and let's see, beats. In fact, I'll give you an even better search term, because there's lots of examples of these on YouTube of binaural beats, and you'll see lots of good information on the science of it and the history of it and that sort of thing. But basically, you have to wear headphones in order to get something good out of binaural beats. But what it does is it puts a tone at one frequency and a tone at a slightly different frequency, and your brain puts those together. It's like the same thing your eyes do. That if you see something that's you might have blurry vision for one moment, and then you focus on it, and it converges. And this kind of does the same thing with your brain. And I frequently use this when I'm on a deadline to get something done. If I've just let's see, is it binaural? It's Binaural. I think that's Greg in the chat area there. So just, yeah, it should appear in the Facebook chat, but maybe not. Oh yeah, I see. It looks like it's there. Sometimes when we do these Facebook Fridays, they go out to our private Facebook group, our public Facebook page, and also to our YouTube channel. And sometimes I notice the chat doesn't get to all three. We're in the early days of this, I guess what they call simulcasting or that kind of thing. And so, yeah, Greg, it's Binaural, and then it's Beats, Beats, and hopefully that'll help you access that and figure it out. And so when you need that extra bit of concentration, you're finding that it's not happening or that kind of thing. I mean, this sounds like woo woo and crystals and stuff like that. And it's I guess I would say it's more science based than that. And it really seems to help most of the time I use it. So I'm pretty delighted with that, because prior to the last 2 years, I was traveling quite a bit. Went to typically about 8 or 9 international meetings a year, and that all required a plane ride of one kind or another. And so got you're sometimes you're not on your normal schedule when you're crossing time zones. You do have to pay attention, and you do have to focus at what yesterday was in the middle of your night is now the beginning of your day. And so the binaural beats are very good, interestingly enough, for both concentration at higher frequencies and relaxation at lower frequencies. And some of the best, most restorative meditations I've ever had have been at the comp you know uh, um, from the binaural beats. And Greg has also mentioned the Monroe Institute. I'll put that in the chat window. And I would say the absolute best. Uh, I have used that HemiSync, and until I got to binaural beats, there's a HemiSync program. Let's see, what is that called? Well, just any one of the HemiSync programs are very good. You can look at what's the most. Let's see them. Oh, I know what it's called. It's called the Cat Napper. Let me just put that in the thing. It's HemiSync, and that's the name of. Let's see, the name of the technology. So it's HemiSync from the Monroe Institute. I think it is. And the program is called the Cat Napper. And usually when I put that on my headsets and I get comfortable in a chair, I found that, it's easy to, when you're doing this kind of meditation, which I put it in the class of meditation, it's a technology assisted meditation, but it is meditation, a form of meditation nonetheless. I've found that it's best not to actually lay down. I mean, so you can, but what I find is it's sitting up is better because there's less of a tendency to go into sleep, which can be fine, but going into this sort of altered state is much more regenerative for me of my faculties when I do it. So I sit up and meditate in a comfortable chair, and that seems to do it. And yes, I'm familiar with the Wim Hof, I guess his name is. He's the Iceman, and he does all these crazy cold baths, plunging in ice and going from ice to hot, and breathing exercises. And what he does, this is an example of something that looks good for somebody that's in their 40s, 50s, maybe early 50s. It looks a little bit too aggressive maybe for somebody that's a little bit older, but you can look him up on the internet, and he's a very has an amazing story, and is obviously an expert on this thing. And I guess in terms of what I do is I try to focus um, rather than talking about things that are extreme, like I would consider Wim Hof is very extreme. I mean, you have to be willing to every day jump into an ice bath, or basically, and or equivalent, and doing very aggressive breathing exercises and meditation exercises. And that's not for most of the people that we serve. I know that most of those people will not do that kind of exercise. And but all this other stuff is pretty simple stuff, pretty much not a big transition. You don't have to make huge life changes. And but I know this also works for other folks. And I do some consciously do some breathing exercises, and I do find those very helpful as well. And you can find all kinds of breathing exercises on YouTube, and you just plug in the headphones and you close your eyes, and somebody just talks you through taking a deep breath and in and out and that kind of thing. And that's another very simple way to bring your focus back after you've had a period of intense focus, or if you've reached a roadblock there. And so, yeah, that's great. And so, happy to answer any questions you might have. Um, yeah, looking forward to being out of. I just after living in Mexico for 15 years and uh, getting caught in the U.S. during the lockdown, it was like, what do you mean snow flurries and snow today in March? I mean, usually in San Miguel de Allende by now we're out in t-shirts and it's so comfortable and that kind of thing. So uh, so that's well, thanks for those kind words, Greg. I appreciate that. That's very nice. Very good. Yes, we're looking forward. For those of you, some of you have signed up for our International Living event in St. Louis. We're looking forward to that being a lot of fun. Coming up April 22nd through the 24th. If you go to our website, barefootconsultants.com, you'll see some of the details on that. Let me do this. Um, there we go. And yeah, Marianne says definitely a fan of warm weather. And for 15 years, I didn't have to go into any cold weather. And Dallas is pretty tame by most climate. The climate here is pretty wonderful, actually. We've had a number of days in the 70s over the last few weeks, but that's you know it's still too cold. Yes, and Greg says I do feel like you know certainly a lot of what we see today is just people going through the money. And the great thing that we have for our members is a community, and our community kind of revolves around our Tuesday night call and our newsletter and that kind of thing. And I really enjoy the opportunity to work with people. That's the joy that I get out of this. And Bob's reminding me and taunting me that it's 83 and sunny, and you're probably out there swimming around a reef today. Well, Tuco is very good for that. It's also great diving area, and just miss that. It's been a while, so very good. And thanks, Tammy, for that like. Always appreciate the likes. And so as we roll off into the weekend, look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great weekend, and hope you uh, uh, stay nice and warm. And and Tammy says it's snowing in Canada. Yes, have lots of friends in Canada that actually live in Huatulco, come down to Huatulco in the cold times to get out of it. But very good. So, all righty, take care, and we'll see you soon.